Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I want to discuss Marvel's Avengers, particularly because we haven't talked about it on the channel since I did my last review, and I want to kind of talk about that, but I also want to talk about the new State of the Game update that Crystal Dynamics released yesterday to kind of talk about the game and where it's at, as well as talk about the new update that released the other day as well. First of all, I want to discuss the fact that I haven't been playing the game. The issue is, if you guys watch my review so far, you guys will know that I had a lot of issues with the bugs and the lack of proper matchmaking in the game, and those are still present. I mean, even today when I was playing it for the footage for this video, I still wasn't matchmaking with anyone for the new content, and that was a big issue to me. But on top of that, there's been a lot of kind of quietness from Crystal Dynamics in terms of the game. They've been kind of posting, general like, hey, look at these screenshots that people took, community spotlights. But they've not really given anything kind of concrete about where the game's going, what they're trying to do. And so I think this is overdue, really. But what they have done is that since the game launched, they have been doing a lot of back-end work to try and write the game in terms of stability, in terms of matchmaking. It's not all there yet. As I said, it's still very much a process, but they're getting there. They're trying their best, and I appreciate that. I'm not here to kick people while they're down. The game isn't doing well right now, but it doesn't mean we should have pitchforks ready for the developers. On top of that, what they've actually done is they've said that in this new State of the Game update, they've said we'll be getting rewards for sticking with the game during this period, and that will be running from October 22nd to November 5th. If you log in, you'll get 1,500 credits, enough for a legendary skin, 7,000 units, 250 upgrade modules, 20 DNA keys, and a Sarah Garza inspired nameplate because seriously, you're the best. I'm really happy they did this. I think it goes a long way to kind of reaching out to people and saying, hey, sorry that this has been the case. I think it's a little premature considering that there's a lot of these issues are still in the game, so you're kind of building goodwill to then let it down again. But any kind of attempt at reaching out to your player base is always a good thing. So I think this is generally a good thing. Next on the list is some really good stuff as well, and I'm kind of happy for this as well. They're talking about how they're going to be changing features going forward and what they want to do next and all that type of stuff. So they're talking about a ping system here that'll kind of allow us to communicate, not necessarily through voice chat, but communicate with other people and, command AI so that we're not having a situation where you can't reach certain chests or you can't do certain objectives or you're running away from everyone else and you don't know where they are. So that's going to be a really important thing to have, I think. This reassemble campaign replay as well is an interesting thing, that you can replay through all your favorite levels, see your favorite cutscenes again. I think that was something that should have just been in from the get-go, a new game plus essentially. High contrast mode, accessibility to change for readability, which is great. Icon visibility to be able to see heroes and where they're at more clearly. Reward clarity, I mean, again, that should have been in the game to begin with, but again, good that they're adding it now. Off-screen and ranged enemy attack indicators, better feedback for players to avoid off-screen. This was a big thing for me. I often felt like out of nowhere I was being hit by something, and it wasn't really clear where or how. So I'm glad that they're doing this now, and I'm glad that they're showing that off here ahead of time to kind of let people know it's coming. What I think is also interesting is that they're talking here about performance and stability and saying that they're actually partnering with a lot of people outside of the company to try and get the game as stable as possible. Now, I'm happy they're doing this, obviously, but again, this is a situation where it feels a little too late. Like, you should have been doing this from the beginning. Like, why are you only just reaching out to people now about your game? Like, you should have been working with Nvidia from the beginning. I mean, that's my opinion. Maybe you guys would disagree, but I do think it's kind of it's very late stages to be doing that type of stuff. Hopefully, that's something we end up reaping benefits from. I imagine it will, but it's ridiculous that this happened after the game launched. This is something that I didn't understand as well. They're talking here about the goal is to draw from a larger pool of online players, provide faster ways to jump into desired content. That should have been in the game from the get-go. There is no excusing a multiplayer game not being ready for multiplayer. I just think That was the predominant mode that this game is going to exist in. Why wasn't that fine-tuned? If there was an issue with the campaign, I'd almost forgive it, because the campaign is almost secondary to the multiplayer aspect. This is a game of service after all. But the fact that they've kind of didn't bother doing this, they didn't bother really tightening their multiplayer and their matchmaking before they released the product, is just baffling to me. I just don't understand. And so that, again, you know, great that they're doing it, but again, a little too late, in my opinion. Then we're talking about rewards. They're talking about how the fact that their new content will allow better rewards and more diversified rewards in terms of where you get them from. So, for example, Tachyon and AIM cloning labs give special rewards as opposed to other content, and when you get exotics from late game activities, you'll get like a different set of perks and stuff like that. And they're saying about how they're going to continue to do this, and obviously that's great. I mean, you know, rewards are always, that's something that you get in the hands of the players, and then you talk back and forth a bit. So I understand why that one's now happening as opposed to perhaps before. But again, it's kind of annoying to see all of these issues compound, because you get a game that is good beneath the surface, but just has all these problems kind of stopping you getting to that core of the game, to get into that core enjoyability. And that's where my issue lies with this right now. And then we're talking about Mega Hives and Tachyon Missions. The Mega Hive, I didn't really enjoy, if I'm honest with you guys. It felt very much like, hey, let's just rehash everything we've done before and put them all together in one piece of content. So essentially, you're having all the levels you've ever done kind of mashed into, here, do one after the other, after the other, after the other. And if you've already done some missions before you do a Mega Hive, then that's not fun. Also, the fact that this Mega Hive is a solo thing, I don't really get that either. Like, I understand having solo pieces of content even in the late game, but I don't think it should be one of the harder pieces of content. And so I'm happy that they're, you know, adding a multiplayer option, but I just think, again, this should have been in from the beginning. As for the Tachyon Missions and Shield Substation Zero, if you guys haven't seen, I dropped a video with this video that runs through that gameplay, and that should be in the top right hand corner for you guys to click on. But essentially, as an outpost, I really liked Shield Substation Zero. There wasn't much issue navigating around it. You have a lot of the NPCs that you're kind of used to, and you can pick up all your missions from here if you want to get started. The issue comes for me in that they've said that this is like the place that you should go to get everything you want to do done in the game, but then they've decided to leave a few things on the shield helicarrier and in the anthill. And I get why they want people to visit these other locations, but don't tout Substation Zero then as a place you go to do everything, because that's not true. And I just think that it's kind of silly to state that if it's not the case. As for the Tachyon missions, what annoys me about the Tachyon mission, at least the introductory one, is that they're essentially the missions that we've already done, but with a timed feature added. And this can get kind of crazy. Like, initially it's that your health is reducing as you move through the level, and so like if you're not finding healing opportunities or you're using your ultimates etc to heal, you're going to die. And then on top of that, later on in the mission, and again this was in my video, you have an actual timer that says if you don't finish this in a certain amount of time, you fail and you have to start from a checkpoint again. And I'm never really a fan of timers in content. I don't really like being told that I have to finish this in a certain amount of time, but this feels extra pressing because I feel like what we've got is a situation where you have to kind of neglect some things. Like, I felt like because I had a timer there that I had to rush to the objective, and because of that I missed getting loot, I missed getting reputation with the factions, and I just felt like that was kind of counterintuitive to the point of the game when they said, hey, yeah, you get to explore, you get to do this and that. It feels very much like you need to beeline for the objective now, and I don't like that. I thought that these missions were going to be entirely different, introduce new enemies, or at least a new enemy, or, you know, potentially hint at a new villain. Obviously they do thematically, but not so much mechanically, and that was my issue. I felt like there was nothing new here. It was kind of uninspired, actually. And the only way you actually get to, you know, deal with this timer is to collect these tachyon like orbs. And again, that wasn't fun because it didn't do anything. It, like, if you used a tachyon orb and a time burst like erupted, or you know, you reversed back in time or something, it didn't feel as impactful as they made it out to be. Like in the beginning of the mission, Agent Morales says you're likely to like encounter your past, like to have to deal with your past because of this Tachyon Rift, and then nothing happens with that, and it's kind of like, why even try and big up what this is if it's just a reskin of missions that you did before? And so that was a big issue for me, and I do feel that was a big missed opportunity from Crystal Dynamics. And then they started talking about their Omega level threat facilities. The first one being the AIM cloning lab, which we talked about before. And basically what happens with this lab, and I am hoping there's a lot more levels in this, because they've showed a screenshot that shows something very different to what we've seen so far. And I hope that does stay true. I hope there's a uniqueness in this. But what it essentially is a lab where you fight through, but as you get through it, everything you've done before impacts the later levels and how hard they'll be or easy they'll be. And I want to see what that looks like. I'm kind of interested to see where that goes. Hopefully that's the new content we need. That's the new unique stuff that we want. But I'm concerned that it might not be. I'm concerned it might be more of the same. And if that's the case, I wonder where that leaves the game. Because if we're quite honest, the game's already losing, in fact maybe hemorrhaging, players. And I just don't want this game to collapse inside of this year. I want it to last at least, you know, a few years, and it just feels like if Crystal Dynamics isn't willing to push the boat out, that won't happen. Paired with this, sadly, we have some issues in terms of new content that's coming. Because of all these quality of life changes, the new experiences are being pushed back. So Kate Bishop, for example, was meant to be launched in October, I think late October, and now she won't be. And that's upsetting because people were looking forward to getting new heroes. I mean, that's kind of like the point of the game, to build this Avengers roster. And because that's being pushed back, there's going to be a lot of people who won't touch the game again for a longer period of time. Partly because of Kate not dropping when she was going to be said, but also the fact is that if everything keeps getting delayed, when are we going to actually play something we want to play? You know, if everything keeps getting delayed, it's gonna erode support in the game. And I feel like that's where we're at now. I feel like we're in a situation where this game, the support for this game from its fan base is low. And Kate Bishop, I don't think, is going to fix that now. Whenever she comes out, I think they're going to have to step up their game very quickly, release new villains, release a flurry of new heroes, and again, that's almost kind of impossible as well. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they kind of pull themselves out of this situation, but I hope that they do. Another thing that they're doing is pushing back a next-gen release for the game. That doesn't mean you can't play it on your new consoles, your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox Series XS, but it won't be optimized for the new consoles as yet. Obviously you'll still get benefits, you'll have a higher frame rate and such like, but it won't be as optimized as it could be. And again, that's another issue. It feels like this game is just riddled with issues as to where it's going, what it is right now, and how it's going to keep its player base engaged for the long term. And that's upsetting to me because I want it to be a situation where this game is flourishing. And it just feels like the exact opposite. And the issue is, unlike other games who have been through similar things, this game did not get a lot of traction to begin with outside of other controversies, like the Spider-Man controversy, Spider-Man being exclusive to PlayStation. And so I'm worried that this might be kind of the slow decline of Marvel's Avengers already. And, you know, I hope not, but it feels like it could be. Yeah, that's kind of it for this video, guys. I'll leave a link to the state of the game below for you guys to be able to read yourselves. But I've basically covered everything in this video. If you did enjoy this video, or you want to discuss the state of the game, please comment below. And if you want to, guys, please share, like, and subscribe. Otherwise, guys, you'll find my Twitter and my Twitch, my Discord and my Patreon in the description below. As for Twitch, I do stream 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 PM BST, soon to be GMT. I hope you guys join us there. It's a barrel of laughs. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.